Jimmy Haslam wanted a spectacle, and Kevin Stefanski refused to deliver it. The Cleveland Browns head coach is now gone, dismissed after standing firm on his decision to keep rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders on the bench behind veteran Joe Flacco. In a franchise already defined by quarterback chaos and impatient leadership, this latest power struggle wasn't just another disagreement. It was a breaking point. For Haslam, Sanders was more than a player. He was a headline.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Fresh off an electric college career and a promising preseason, Sanders had become a symbol of hope for fans desperate for a new face of the franchise. Haslam saw marketability. He saw star power. And he wanted it on the field immediately. Stefanski, on the other hand, saw a rookie still adjusting to the NFL, playing behind a shaky offensive line, and facing the pressures of a season already spiraling. For him, Flacco was the safer option. A veteran who could manage games while Sanders developed. That logic didn't matter. The tension between ownership and coaching boiled over as chants for Sanders echoed through the stadium. Fans booed Flacco. Local and national media mocked Cleveland for once again mismanaging its quarterback situation. The story stopped being about wins and losses and became a referendum on control. Haslam's demand to start Sanders wasn't about football. It was about ego. And when Stefanski refused, he became collateral damage in a battle he couldn't win. The Browns' history is littered with similar mistakes. From Johnny Manziel to Baker Mayfield to Deshaun Watson, the organization has burned through quarterbacks at a staggering pace, never building the stability or patience required to succeed. Sanders was supposed to be different, a chance to reset the narrative. Instead, his name is now tied to another round of dysfunction before he's even taken a snap as the official starter. Cleveland hasn't just set expectations sky high for a rookie. It's turned his debut into a high-stakes PR event with no safety net. Behind closed doors, the cracks were obvious. Stefanski tried to hold the line, prioritizing development over optics. Haslam pushed harder, turning what could have been a quiet transition into a public standoff. By the time the firing came, it was less about the Browns' record and more about who held the real power inside the building. The answer was clear. Now, Sanders is stepping into the kind of environment that has derailed so many before him. He's not just tasked with leading an offense. He's expected to be the face of a franchise that has never given its quarterbacks a stable foundation. And Flacco, the veteran who became a lightning rod for fan frustration, has been reduced to a footnote in the chaos. This isn't just another coaching change. It's another example of how the Browns sabotage themselves, where ego trumps strategy, patience runs out, and potential gets smothered under the weight of bad decisions. Kevin Stefanski may be gone, but the same cycle that claimed him still controls Cleveland. Kevin Stefanski didn't lose his job because of wins and losses. He didn't lose it because the locker room turned on him, or because the offense fell apart. He lost it because he refused to turn the Cleveland Browns into a brand activation stunt. Because when Jimmy Haslam said, "Start Shedeur Sanders," Stefanski said no. And that was all it took. This wasn't about football. This wasn't about performance. This was about power, and who has it in Cleveland. Spoiler, it's not the coaches. For a minute, it looked like the Browns were trying to break their curse. Stefanski was supposed to be the grown-up in the room. A steady hand. The guy who finally brought order to a franchise known more for dysfunction than first downs. He delivered the team's first playoff win in nearly 2 decades. He navigated injuries, quarterback roulette, and endless distractions. But then came the moment that ripped the lid off. Shedeur Sanders. A rookie with a famous name, a huge college following, and the kind of preseason hype that ownership eats alive. The fans were chanting for him. The media was circling. And Haslam saw it all, not as pressure but as opportunity. Start the kid. Feed the buzz. Sell the story. But Stefanski stuck to football logic. He chose experience in Joe Flacco. He went with the veteran while the rookie continued to develop. It wasn't a flashy move. But it was the right one, until it wasn't because it clashed with what ownership wanted. And when Stefanski wouldn't cave, that was it. He was done. This wasn't a quiet firing. It was a loud, messy declaration of how things work in Cleveland. The coach does not run the team. The owner does. And now the franchise is in chaos. Again. No coach. No plan. Just a rookie quarterback caught in the middle of a power struggle he never asked for. Shedeur Sanders didn't ask to be the centerpiece of this drama. He just played well in college. Put in work during preseason. Showed promise. And now he's being fast-tracked into a hostile, unstable environment, not because it's what's best for his development, but because it's what looks best on paper. This is exactly how the Browns ruin quarterbacks. They don't lose them to injury or bad stats. They lose them to impatience, ego, and internal dysfunction. They set them up to fail, then wonder why they keep recycling quarterbacks every 2 years. Cleveland doesn't just have a history of failure at quarterback. They've made it part of the culture. And now they've handed Sanders the keys to a car that's already veering off the road. Everything rides on him. Every snap will be scrutinized. Every decision overanalyzed. Every mistake blown out of proportion. Because this isn't just a rookie debut, it's a franchise-defining moment. The narrative is set. Haslam overruled the coach to get his guy on the field. So now Sanders has to be perfect. Not promising. Not developing. Perfect. Because if he struggles, the firing looks unjustifiable. The owner looks impulsive. The cracks widen. But even if he succeeds, what does it say about the organization? That they were right to fire the coach who didn't bend the knee? That development doesn't matter if your owner has a gut feeling? That's not sustainable. That's not how you build a team. That's how you build chaos. And the worst part? The locker room knows it. Players saw Stefanski protect his team. They saw him stand up for what he believed in. And now he's gone, not because he lost the room, but because he wouldn't follow orders from a guy with a luxury suite. That kind of move doesn't just unsettle the team. It breaks trust. It tells players, leadership is conditional. It tells coaches, autonomy is fake. It tells fans, nothing is sacred, not even the guy who brought us back to the playoffs. And now the Browns are left scrambling. There's no succession plan. No clear direction. Just a rookie quarterback thrown into the fire and a job opening that no respectable coach should want. Who's taking this gig knowing their playbook has to be co-signed by the owner? Who wants to be the next guy in line to get fired for making a strategic football decision? The message is loud and clear. If you don't do what Haslam wants, you're replaceable. And Shedeur? He's walking into all of that. With cameras on him. Fans expecting a savior. Ownership expecting validation. That's not a development arc. That's a pressure cooker. The Browns could have played this smart. Ease Sanders in. Let him grow behind Flacco. Wait for the right moment. Give the kid time. Instead they forced it. They fired a proven coach. And they made the rookie quarterback the new face of a franchise with no functioning identity. This isn't a rebuild. It's a rebranding campaign. And everyone knows it. Fans know it. They've seen this movie too many times. Draft a new quarterback, hype him up, throw him into chaos, and then act shocked when it all falls apart. The media knows it. That's why Cleveland is once again the punchline on every show. And the players? They're stuck playing through it, trying to win games while navigating yet another leadership void. This isn't how you build a contender. It's how you stay stuck. And unless something drastic changes, the Browns will continue to waste talent, on and off the field. Shedeur Sanders has potential. But now, that potential is tied to an impossible set of expectations. He doesn't just have to win. He has to redeem a franchise. He has to justify a firing. He has to save the Browns from themselves. And if he doesn't, he'll just be the next name added to the long list of quarterbacks Cleveland failed. So what do you think? Was Stefanski justified in defying ownership? Did Haslam make the right call, or just another headline-grabbing mistake? And can Shedeur Sanders actually turn this around, or is he the latest victim of a franchise that never learns? Drop your take in the comments below. The gloves are off. Let's hear what you think about the mess in Cleveland. And if you're still riding this roller coaster, make sure to subscribe. Because with the Browns, it's never over. There's always another twist coming. And we'll be here for all of it. It's always the same with Cleveland, isn't it? Just when the dust seems to settle, just when the team starts to feel stable, boom. Self-inflicted chaos. A top-down meltdown. Another franchise reset that isn't actually a reset, but just a continuation of dysfunction wrapped in fresh packaging. Kevin Stefanski's firing wasn't surprising. It was predictable. Because the Browns don't fire coaches because they're bad. They fire coaches because they stop playing by the script, Haslam's script. And this time, the offense was refusing to roll out a rookie quarterback like a new sneaker drop. Let's not sugarcoat it. This wasn't a disagreement about play calling. It was a power struggle. And Jimmy Haslam made it very clear. The power isn't on the sidelines, it's in the owner's suite. Stefanski defied him, and for that, he became disposable. It's ironic, isn't it? Stefanski was brought in because of Cleveland's history of dysfunction. He was supposed to be the adult in the room. The quiet, competent operator who didn't care about the noise. And for a while he delivered. He didn't just get this team to the playoffs, he won. Something no Browns coach had done in nearly 2 decades. But that doesn't matter here. Because in Cleveland, football isn't just about performance. It's about politics. And once Shedeur Sanders entered the equation, the Browns stopped being a football team and became a PR machine with cleats. From the second Sanders was drafted, there was pressure. The name, the brand, the highlight reels. And Haslam, always eager for a shortcut to relevance, decided that Sanders wasn't just a quarterback. He was the story. The only problem? Stefanski didn't agree. He wasn't anti-Sanders. He just wasn't ready to throw him into the fire. Not with a shaky offensive line. Not with a fan base frothing for a savior. Not with an unstable front office breathing down his neck. So he went with Joe Flacco. Not exciting. Not glamorous. But steady. Safe. Someone who could take the hits while Sanders learned the game at a professional level. It wasn't about benching Sanders, it was about protecting him. About doing what good coaches do. Developing talent, not exploiting it for headlines. But that kind of foresight doesn't sell tickets. It doesn't trend on Twitter. And Haslam wasn't about to let a 38-year-old quarterback slow down his personal marketing campaign. So Stefanski was fired. Not for losing. Not for poor management. But for putting football logic ahead of Haslam's ego. And now Shedeur Sanders is the face of the franchise. Not because he's ready. Not because he earned it. But because ownership said so. It's not his fault. He's just trying to play football. But now he's burdened with something no rookie should have to carry. He's expected to fix the Cleveland Browns. And that's the real tragedy here. Because Shedeur Sanders might actually be the guy. He has the arm, the pedigree, the confidence, the intangibles. But now none of that will matter unless he's perfect. Unless he wins immediately. Unless he silences the doubts, quiets the boos, and validates an ownership decision that's already torn the team in half. Because let's be honest, the fan base is fractured. Some fans are thrilled. They wanted Sanders on the field weeks ago. They see this as the first step in building something new. But others? They see the writing on the wall. Another rushed debut. Another promising quarterback turned into a scapegoat. The ones with long memories remember Brady Quinn, Colt McCoy, Brandon Weeden, Johnny Manziel, Deshaun Kaiser, Baker Mayfield. All brought in with hope. All expected to save the franchise. And all destroyed by the same toxic cycle of impatience, bad leadership, and complete disregard for development. Sanders isn't being asked to play football, he's being asked to rewrite the story. To be the exception. To win games while being the face of an internal political war. To rise above a mess that's been festering long before he arrived. And the locker room? Don't think they're not paying attention. Veterans know what just happened. They saw a coach who had their respect get booted because he dared to coach on his terms. That doesn't inspire confidence. That doesn't build trust. It creates hesitation, division, and worst of all, resentment. Because if Stefanski can get fired for not starting a rookie, what's stopping anyone else from getting axed the next time they go against the narrative? The answer, nothing. The Browns are no longer a team being built. They're a team being scripted. And that script is now tied to Sanders. He has to succeed, or this whole operation collapses again. And when that's the environment around a 21-year-old quarterback, that's not fair. That's not functional. That's sabotage. And what's the backup plan? There isn't one. If Sanders fails, they'll fire someone else. Blame the next coach. Reset the system. Reboot the culture. Pretend like this was the exception, not the rule. Because that's what Cleveland does best. Start over without actually changing anything. They love the idea of a rebuild. But they don't have the patience or humility to do it right. They want a shortcut to success, and they're willing to throw anyone under the bus to get there, even the people actually trying to help them win. The most frustrating part? They had something. Stefanski wasn't perfect, but he was building something sustainable. He had a plan. He had a vision. He was playing the long game. But Cleveland doesn't believe in the long game. They believe in the shiny thing. The new name. The next savior. The next scapegoat. And now it's Shedeur Sanders' turn. He's not just stepping onto the field. He's stepping into the most dysfunctional quarterback graveyard in NFL history. And the only thing he can do now is win. Immediately. Without mistakes. Without learning curves. Without growing pains. Because anything less? That's going to fall squarely on his shoulders. And that's not just unfair. It's tragic. The Browns could have protected him. Developed him. Set him up to succeed. But instead, they made him the centerpiece of a controversy he never asked for. They gave him the keys to a broken engine and told him to win a race. So where does Cleveland go from here? They'll start Sanders. They'll hope he balls out. They'll cross their fingers that this gamble pays off. And if it doesn't, they'll do what they always do. Blame. Fire. Replace. Repeat. It's not a rebuild. It's a rerun. The Cleveland Browns didn't just fire Kevin Stefanski. They didn't just bench a veteran quarterback. They didn't just name Shedeur Sanders the starter. What they did, openly, defiantly, was torch the very idea that this franchise is run by football minds. And if there was still any illusion that the Browns were building a long-term football culture, that illusion is now dead. Because this wasn't about wins or stats or schemes. This was about power. And Jimmy Haslam made it very clear. This is his team, his show, his product. And anyone who doesn't play their role exactly how he wants it? Gone. Kevin Stefanski's role was to shut up, sit down, and start the kid. But he didn't. He believed in development. He believed in structure. He believed that throwing a rookie quarterback into a broken offensive situation just to please the crowd wasn't the answer. He believed in building something, not selling something. And for that, he's gone. Stefanski wasn't perfect, but he brought Cleveland back from irrelevance. He ended the playoff drought. He gave the Browns a real identity. And most importantly, he wasn't a puppet. And that's exactly why he's out of a job. So now the Browns are back where they always end up, standing in the wreckage of their own decisions, asking their rookie quarterback to save them from a mess they created. And this time the stakes are even higher. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just the latest name on a jersey full of failed quarterbacks. He's a full-blown media story. He's got the spotlight, the fanfare, the hype, and now the expectation. He's not just being asked to develop. He's being asked to win. Right now. No time to learn. No room to stumble. No grace for rookie mistakes. He has to prove Jimmy Haslam right. That's the weight on Shedeur's shoulders. That's the pressure that comes when you're not brought into a stable system, but forced into the middle of a headline-fueled controversy. If he succeeds, Haslam gets to take a victory lap. He gets to say he was right to fire Stefanski. He gets to pretend that this was all part of some brilliant master plan. But if Sanders struggles? If the offense stalls, if the team falters, if the pressure becomes too much? Then what? Does the next coach get fired too? Do they draft another quarterback? Start over? Blame the player like they've done so many times before? Because we've seen this story. We've seen it too many times. And the outcome is always the same. The Browns say they're rebuilding, but what they're really doing is chasing lightning in a bottle. They want instant success without laying the groundwork for it. They want a star quarterback without giving him the time or protection to grow into the role. They draft high, they talk big, and then they fold the second a coach doesn't give them the story they want. It's not football, it's a front office fantasy league. And now Shedeur is in the middle of it. Thrown to the wolves. No head coach. No clear system. No plan other than go win and make this look good. That's not leadership. That's chaos. And don't think the players aren't watching. Locker rooms feel this stuff. They know when a coach is fired because he lost the team versus when a coach is fired because the owner didn't get what he wanted. And this was the latter. Clear as day. That kind of move fractures trust. Not just between players and ownership, but between players and each other. Because when people start wondering who's really calling the shots, everything gets shaky. Leadership dissolves. Cohesion breaks down. The whole thing becomes a house of cards. It sends the message, your voice doesn't matter unless it echoes the owner's. And now the Browns are looking for another head coach. Again, let's be honest, who's taking this job? Who wants to be the next guy to walk into a role where your quarterback is chosen for you, your decisions are second-guessed in real time, and your job security depends on whether you follow orders, not whether you win games? Because that's what Cleveland just put on full display. The coach is no longer the leader. He's the spokesperson for whatever ownership wants to happen. That's not attractive to real coaching talent. That's not how you build something. That's how you stay stuck no matter how many draft picks you burn through. And don't even get started on what this means for free agency. Why would a veteran player come to Cleveland now? Why would someone with options walk into an organization that just publicly embarrassed their head coach and pin the future on a rookie they haven't even supported properly? They wouldn't. And they won't. The Browns haven't just made things harder for Shedeur. They've made things harder for everyone. Because when an organization shows you who they are, you better believe them. And right now, the Browns are showing that they'll blow up stability, disrespect their coaches, and sacrifice development, just to chase a headline. That's not a football team. That's a PR machine. The sad part? Shedeur Sanders deserves better. He didn't ask for this drama. He didn't politic for the starting job. He didn't undermine his coach. He just played football. He showed promise. He did his job. And now he's stuck in a situation where his job is no longer just to grow, it's to save a franchise that refuses to save itself. If he succeeds, it won't be because of the Browns. It'll be in spite of them. But if he fails, he'll be added to the pile of quarterbacks Cleveland mismanaged, mishandled, and moved on from. And the cycle will begin again. So where does that leave the fans? Tired? Angry? Resigned? Cleveland fans have seen this too many times to get swept up in the hype. Sure, some are thrilled to see Shedeur start. They've been begging for it. But a growing number of fans know what this really is: a desperation move. A distraction. A high-risk gamble from an owner who doesn't care about development, only attention. And it's not just about Stefanski. It's about what his firing represents. It represents a franchise that will never let itself grow the right way. That will always prioritize now over next. That doesn't just fear patience, it despises it. And unless that changes, nothing else will. It doesn't matter who plays quarterback. It doesn't matter who holds the clipboard. It doesn't matter how many draft picks they stack or how many press conferences they hold. Because as long as the Browns keep sabotaging themselves from the top down, no player, no matter how talented, can fix them. So now it's your turn. Was Stefanski right to stand his ground? Should he have started Shedeur to save his job? Did Haslam just make the worst mistake of his ownership, or was this the bold reset the team needed? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This isn't just about the Browns anymore, it's about the bigger picture in sports. About what happens when ownership meddles, when development is sacrificed, and when short-term optics outweigh long-term success. And if you're still strapped in for this roller coaster, hit that subscribe button. Because one thing's certain, this story's not over. And in Cleveland, it never is.